Hey neighbor, welcome back to the island of Misfit Noise on this very special episode of 17 on Sunday. You've seen every music publication on God's green earth give their list of bad songs on great albums, including me. Lock me up in handcuffs, officer, I'm guilty. But what I really don't see discussed is out-of-place songs on amazing albums, and while these tracks definitely can be seen as rejects because of their quality, it often boils down to an artist making a weird choice by including a song that doesn't match the sound, lyrical theme, or energy of the album at large. It's okay to disagree, and you most likely will at some point, but I just wanted to put it out there that these are songs that aren't necessarily bad, although some of them are. I'm just calling attention to the ones that don't seem to fit. Almost the entirety of Tragic Kingdom sports a groovy ska meets pop agenda, but one track didn't quite fit the mold, and oddly enough, it's the one that made them a household name. Don't Speak was unique for the band at the time. I mean, a slow-burning, emotional ballad? I have no doubt that some fans were caught off guard by the cleaner guitars and a sultry bass line bringing down the tempo and briefly rearranging the album's energy. Sludgy grunge metal filled the halls of Nirvana's unforgettable debut Bleach all the way back in 1989, flying off the leash with rage and pandemonium outside of a single track that became one of their all-time classics about a girl. Sandwiched in between the punk jam Floyd the Barber and the animalistic School, this simple acoustic guitar ballad took peppery drums and tossed in a more adventurous sound that may have had it sounding out of place here, but it certainly fell in line with their future discography. If I don't know how we separate the lies here from the... In the middle of a punk rock post-hardcore hailstorm of intensity, I think the last thing you'd be expecting is a somber, string-laden cry for help, let alone 11 tracks in, and it's not even the cliche slow burn closer. There's no denying how passionate this group is for the causes they believe in, but passion exists in more forms of emotion than just anger. For proof, just look to the heartstring-pulling, head-underwater moment right in front of us. Today's video is sponsored by something that's not out of place if you actually want it done right: Manscaped. The Performance Package 4.0 is here, and the upgrades are better than ever. Topped off with their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, and the ball toner, which has been a lifesaver for me, along with a pair of performance boxer briefs and a travel bag to hold your package. Guys, I know you've got below-the-waist horror stories too. My old electric shaver literally scarred me several times, but the waterproof Lawnmower 4.0 drastically reduces the amount of nicks and ingrown hairs, and I've been using Manscaped products for 3 years and haven't looked back. Treat yourself to the proper men's grooming essentials and get the Performance Package 4.0 at the link in the description or the pinned comment, and don't forget to use code ARTV for an extra 20% off your order, plus free shipping worldwide. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get back to it. Take you home tonight. I'll show you sweet delight. Rollicking hard rock with an unstoppable level of catchy hooks and bombastic guitar solos make the debut self-titled Boston album a classic you can't help but have fun with. The music feels good for the soul, and since 7 of its 8 cuts sound related sonically and lyrically, what the hell is Let Me Take You Home Tonight doing there at the end? I don't think it's a bad song, but you gotta understand, the first 7 were all written by at-the-time guitarist Tom Scholz, except for this one little curveball, and you know who it is. The guitars are still great, and admittedly the final minute is pretty badass, but I'm not huge on the atmosphere or the way Brad's voice ties itself to the instrumental. Haley, Taylor, Zach, love the ambition, love including a friend from Me Without You on vocals, but putting a super personal to the band slam poetry sesh as the next to last track on After Laughter? God dang, that's a bold-ass choice, and while it really doesn't fit here, it grew on me to the point where I now love this song. Advice for those who want to enjoy No Friend outside of the surrounding alternative synth-pop bangers: Listen to this back to back with Idol Worship. You know that song is pure confessional gold, but then pull up those lyrics for No Friends so you can hear the raw anguish from Aaron Weiss, which admittedly is a little bit too buried in the mix, but he caroused the listener through the arduous history of just being the band Paramore. As one of the big four in grunge, the Seattle band Soundgarden cracked open the sky with the mind-bending stoner rock power of their breakthrough LP, Superunknown. The obvious, this one ain't like the others, is the next to last song, Half, a 2-minute drug trip gone wrong written and sung by bass player Ben Shepherd, making it the obvious counterpoint to Chris Cornell. Sure, they pull out some wavy grooves after the eventual drop that finally gets there, but it feels like a lot of waiting around and putting up with Ben's weird performance that kinda gets buried under the surface just to kinda get a mildly satisfying conclusion, and I feel like that's quickly forgotten in the wake of the closer like Suicide. We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine. Let the children sing, the Beatles said from their psychedelic underseas regime, and sing they did, as this song's endless stupid joy continues to haunt me to this day. The British invasion faced a crisis in America when the Beatles opposed the Vietnam War and said they were bigger than Jesus? I'll take things you can't say to a conservative Christian for 1,000, please. Eleanor Rigby was acclaimed, as was its parent album Revolver. It's the record that made me fall in love with the Beatles all over again, and it's for sure in my top 3. But Eleanor got the Silver Hammer ban due to their controversies, so the label pushed the hear it once it's cute, hear it 1,000 times and that cliff starts to look real tempting Yellow Submarine, even though it's completely out of line on Revolver and remains one of their only songs that I just can't stand.
Day is normal, but I can't seem to pass it off as just a random event. It consumes me.
On Past Life, it's not so much that Kevin Parker modulates his voice to tell this story, it's that he stretches it in such a way that it sounds like one of those news interviews where the outlet pitches the voice all deep to protect someone's identity.
You'll understand if I don't come out from the shadows. My identity will be safest if you never see my face.
Maybe that's the point, identity protection, or feeling shame over seeing an ex-flame somewhere and it kind of hits you like a vision from a past life, but it's definitely a sore thumb for Currents.
And when she looks me in my eye, she's my baby Lola.
Why did Robert Plant think he should sing an entire song sounding like he wanted to rip out James Brown's vocal cords and put them in his own throat? It's not flattering, and if I wanted that kind of funky soul, I'm going straight to the man himself, not the Crunge! Even Jamaica manages to slip and slide in the reggae territory without totally alienating itself from the rest of the track list. But why in the name of John Paul Jones did this make the cut and not the actual title track?
And I saw God cry in the reflection of my enemies.
Completely breaking with the sonic direction of the album? Yes, entirely yes, but Fall Out Boy's piano ballad Golden will bring you to your knees with how devastatingly sad the introspection becomes. The Golden Rule states to treat others as you wish to be treated, as intense levels of self-deprecation show that lyricist Pete Wentz was crumbling internally due to the pressures of fame, but this is really the only time that it became unmistakably obvious in the music too. Misleading lead singles kinda irk me. You hear Yuck Fu and you think, wow, Wolf Alice are really gonna blow heads off with a Riot Girl shotgun? But see, that's just not the case for literally any of the other songs on Visions of a Life. Yuck Fu is a romp of a track, although I do get pretty hot and cold with it, so I can see why some people quickly forgot about it or else started hitting the skip button since it's awkwardly placed between the majestic Heavenward and the 60s inspired Beautifully Unconventional.
My heart is aching, my body is burning, my hands are shaking.
Uncomfortable is a word that comes to mind with this one. I mean, it's a random, mainly a cappella experiment featuring Martin Gore singing with some clumsy vocal samples breathing in your ear the entirety of the song. Music for the Masses is undoubtedly one of Depeche Mode's classics. R.I.P. Andy Fletcher still can't believe he's gone, but sticking this towards the middle of the track list makes it feel like the walls are closing in around you and not in a good way like most of their other stuff. Imagine unwrapping that CD, popping it in, being blown away by the art and by Isaac Brock's simultaneous ability to be almost disturbingly honest while remaining the charismatic frontman, and then you get to track 7, lucky number 7, and it's nothing but dance all every day! I don't expect conventional compositions from this band. It's the unpredictability that makes Good News eclectically endearing, so it's not about the out-of-pocket energy, it's the way they ram it down your throat until you start to drown from the repeated words that start to feel like sharpening a knife on your eardrum. It ain't even Halloween, but Kate Bush is serving pure terror in her cauldron of darkness known as Waking the Witch. To finesse something this unnerving without making it cheesy, it's easier said than done, but this creeps me the fuck out. Kate hooks the listener with the aroma of intrigue, which is definitely a command she utilizes throughout Hounds of Love. However, never like this. Never with tortured screams from the depths of hell, as it ties back to the overall concept of drowning. Pixies were known for pushing the envelope in their early years. Black Francis and Kim Deal became the names associated most heavily with the band, and for good reason. Not that the entire group didn't deserve a round on the house for Doolittle, but those two's contributions could never be replicated. That's what makes La La Love You so confusing. It's a woeful step down in quality with some pretty airheaded lyrics even when stacked against the likes of the big hit Here Comes Your Man. Intelligent pop-leaning songs are not inherently a bad thing, and clearly the Pixies knew how to pull that off well, but this was not one of those times. I loathe the whistling, and I find myself either zoning out if I'm listening to my vinyl, or just hitting the skip button altogether. The Black Parade is my favorite album of all time, so heaven help us, I'm not about to disrespect teenagers, but if I could offer a minute criticism when it comes to the rock opera's core concept, this one is definitely a stretch, and it really feels tailor-made for channel-alongs at your local pop-punk night. Don't get it twisted, I love Teenagers. Wait, no, phrasing. I love the song Teenagers, but I do find it gimmicky when you boil it down. You can probably get past that pretty easily if you let the song exist outside of the concept, and I think most fans have done exactly that.
My mother on the phone, the telephone is screaming, won't she leave me alone? The telephone is ringing.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, grabbing the crown at the top of the list. It's Mother by the Police from their final album, Synchronicity, none other than the very song that inspired this idea in the first place. As I mentioned in my career-ending albums episode, this is my favorite album of theirs, since I've never really been that impressed with their early work. It's a blast to jam through, and I find new details to love with each passing listen, with the obvious exception of a certain parental figure. What is this Norman Bates bullshit? You got mommy issues, you're gonna go commit a crime or something? Not for me, man. Not now. Not ever. Okay, maybe that's a bit extreme, but Andy Summer becomes this unhinged mad scientist spiraling down the rabbit hole of denouncing an overbearing mother, and there's not much in the way of musical redemption that I can praise either. Shout off with your take on any of my takes in the comments, hit that like button while you're down there, and don't forget to check out that Overflow playlist that's linked down below. Another shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring the video. Check them out down below too. It really helps me out when you guys use my codes. You can use ARTV and save an extra 20% at checkout. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more.